You're
Yeah. What's
uh,
good?
nothing much. We're back on our Wednesday schedule of recording the podcast,
Yeah. I
and
am
you're back from the Florida.
yep. Yep. We traded places for a little bit. Taimur was in this apartment. I was in Florida, so we had a
Hmm.
little swap. But we're back
Yeah,
and New York City is warming up and
dude.
popping.
Yesterday and
Minus
today were
7. So
so beautiful.
yeah.
Have So you said you were outside earlier today.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you up to?
I was feeling like I had like kind of headache and I just felt like I was like in some kind of like void of some sort. And I was like, I need to just like get moving, do something
Hmm.
to just get blood flowing. I'll be fine. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk to Washington Square Park, only a few blocks away. And I mean, it's just like pure chaos there. And like,
Hmm.
it was just mad fun. Like, talk to this guy. Like, I like this guy's like art. So I was like potentially going to buy one of these like small pieces he had.
Hmm.
We ended up talking for like 10, 15 minutes. And like, there was like other people that came by and we all were just like talking. I don't know. It was just mad chill. And then if you've seen like Side Talk or Side,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know how there's that like Spider Man with like the Tims and
Spider
everything?
Cuz.
Yeah, bro. I literally was with him, and I'm in the background. I'm literally like in the background of one of the videos. So they had like this like rap battle. Um,
Damn,
but it was mad funny. I was just like chilling and like whatever, just walking around the park, and then like him and his like crew just came walking through. It's hilarious.
damn, Spider Cuz. Schultz
Yeah.
did a promo for his Radio City show, which is on Saturday,
Uh-huh.
and he had Charlemagne dress up as Spider Cuz, and like
That's hilarious.
his promo is really good. He has like a lot of like New York heads in it, like
Yeah,
famous New
yeah,
York heads. Like the side talk guys are in it. The guy who says Byron, that guy
yeah.
was in it. There's something about like Schultz that I really like. That like he's like a New York, like he's really repping New York. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he
And
like
like a good way
in
too.
a
He
good
like
way.
and like it's not like polished up really, and it's not like overly like selling these points. It's just like I don't know. He's just genuine.
No, he's the man. And I think
Facts.
like there's a certain like ego drive I have to like be like a New York, like someone who's known in New York, like rest of the
Facts.
world, whatever, but like to rep your hometown and like walk around this, like it would mean so much more to like walk around New York and get recognized by New Yorkers
Sure.
and like get the approval, like, no, that's a real New Yorker versus
Sure.
like
Sure.
all these famous heads who like moved like the transplants. Like yesterday I saw a DJ and for a while DJ was like thinking about moving to Bushwick or like Bed-Stuy because that's kind of his scene.
Mhm.
And I saw him yesterday randomly on a walk and I was like, so what's good? And he's like, nah, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, why? He's like, there's way too many transplants. Like, there's no one there anymore who's from New
Yeah. Yeah.
York. And it's
Right.
like, it's a fact. And there is something like I was at a party I think 2 weeks ago and I met this kid Malik and he like went to Wagner, like Manhattan, like fucking Manhattan kid. And we were just talking New York. And he was like, dude, like I live in Bed-Stuy. It's so refreshing to be able to
Yeah.
just speak New York with someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of non New Yorkers think like the New York talk is like hood, but it's really not. It's just everyone who just grew up
Right.
here like and had friends talk that way. If
Right.
you didn't talk that way when you grew up here, you didn't have friends.
Facts.
Like dead ass.
I was talking to someone the other day about like New York lingo, and they just were like completely in the dark about it, and I was like, yeah, I can't help you then. Like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it is. It is. I don't know. I guess it's been the narrative in New York for quite some time is that like the artists and stuff have been pushed out by like finance bros, tech bros, whatever. Like as money has come in, it's like kind of pushed the
Hmm.
culture out, and now like I don't know. But yeah, it to your point, it would be nice to be like low key known in New York.
Hmm.
Even Spidey cut like
Spider
I mean
cuz.
like he walked in the park and like
Everyone's like,
a
oh.
decent percent of people like turned and were like, yeah,
He has power.
facts.
Yeah, I was
So
I was
intense.
walking with Sean the other day, and he was like, "Dude, with that first chapter when I moved to New York and like I would hang out with your friends, like I had no idea what you were saying. Like it was a different language.
Facts.
It is though, and like yeah, when
Facts.
you don't want to stop talking that way. It's like yeah,
No,
you
I
like
know.
you'll turn it off for people who are not from here or like whatever, but when you're talking to people from here, like that's like it's
Native tongue.
kind of yeah. I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like when I mean no, it's 100% like when I meet Pakistani people or like maybe the way you feel about like Westchester heads, like the Italian Westchester heads that you grew up with, when like you encounter one of those people, like there's just like a shared understanding, like oh my god, like finally,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I actually, yeah, I met someone at work the day that grew up, that went to my high school, just like I don't know, almost a little around like 10 years before me, and it was just
Hmm.
like hilarious because we were like exactly like you just know what both of us have like
Hmm.
grew up with.
Hmm.
Yeah,
No, it's mad funny. Like in high school in the city, there was this kid Ricky Smith. You probably don't know this, but there was this kid Ricky Smith who was my year, and I think he went to lab. He started throwing these parties called Lost Generation, and
mhm.
then it kind of like spawned like, I mean, they were already happening, but all these like like famous New York high school parties. Like if you talk to someone who was a New
Yeah,
York high school kid, like a public high school, not even public, like New York City high school kid between like class of 20, probably class of 2012 to 2014 high school graduation, and
like
tell them,
millennial, like end of
yeah,
millennial.
ask them about like Lost Generation, ask them about I'm Schmacked, and then that
Oh
carried
yeah,
over into college. Maybe that was a
yeah.
college thing actually, but
That
in
was a call, yeah,
okay,
or at least not even call.
but we had also fuck, what was it called, the Bronx Science track parties, bro. The Bronx Science track team was like, they would throw the wildest fucking parties,
Facts.
and there were people that were just like famous like in that scene. It's crazy, bro. There's something about like the social animal aspect of us that just is like attract like people bubble to the top of any fucking like social like subgroup socially,
Sure,
you
sure,
know, like that are just
sure.
well known by everyone in that group, even if they're like not famous, you know, like
I think it's just like having a high EQ and like just
mhm.
being very personable, like charismatic. Like I don't know. I think like
Or very hot.
yeah, but I mean,
Just
take
like
someone like, but if you take someone like people in college, like it's just the same people in high school find the same
mhm,
group in college, and then like post grad. So
mhm.
I feel like yeah,
I think the thing is like if you're known for doing something and you're like good at it, like not even good at it, like you do something unique. Like when you were cutting hair, like I'm sure there was some like that through that you like met people and got introduced to different like social scenes, and then when you
for
would
sure.
be out in parties you would recognize like oh what's up, and like introduced to me, yeah, and like when we were doing the band, like when we started actually playing shows, like I met so many people that year.
Right.
So I think it's like, I don't know, it's one of the exciting things also about being in New York, and we were talking about this right before, but like moving to a different city right now versus being in New York, like there is a cost associated with meeting new people, which is not, it's a good cost, but it's still like a time commitment, and there's something about like being somewhere where you're kind of established in a certain way, like you have like your circle and they're
Sure.
continuing to grow and everyone's staying here for a while, and like summer's about to be like really fun.
Movie. Yeah. No, I agree, and I also think like in New York as well. Like I mean, there's the saying always right. Like if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Like
Hmm.
when I was in Florida, it like really solidified like what how much talent like comes and stays in New York, even for
Hmm.
like a decent period of time. Like any restaurant in Florida, even if it has like 5 stars, is like bottom like 3 stars in New York.
Hmm.
And like the people you meet here, like the average person you're gonna meet there versus the average person here, it's just like worlds apart.
Yeah,
Um, I think there is, yeah. I mean, it's just a magnet for talent and interesting people for sure.
which is kind of the only thing it has going for it,
But
honestly,
it's yeah. But I
because
mean,
the
that's
weather
like.
is cap.
But I think that's like such a like any city can have like a million variables, right? Like let's say there's like 20 variables, but like social aspect is like
Off the charts.
disproportionately like important, at
Hmm.
least for many people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
no, I'm really
I hadn't.
excited.
I had a, before you reminded me about something when you said like oh being like known in New York. In this book I'm reading right now, they were talking about how like someone was like this like influential CEO, like let's say like Ray, right? Like
Hmm.
Ray in like the finance circles, right? Like people like bow down to him, you know, people in like I don't know that are in his sphere or like praise him, right? But like
Hmm.
if he were to go to, I mean, he's kind of like class A celebrity, but like if he were to go to like, I don't know, like
Kind
his
regards.
son's, yeah, or like his son's like basketball game or something like that, like
Yeah.
all the kids are going to treat him like normal people. Maybe the
Mhm.
parents will, but it's just like so interesting how at certain levels of status, like you can have a huge amount of influence in like one circle, but like literally be irrelevant in another.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd rather be extremely like successful in a narrow circle than like
Yeah,
globally successful.
yeah,
Because I think the perks of global success probably like Ray, and I mean, we're talking about an extreme outlier, right? Like one of the greatest investors ever. But like,
sure.
think about like a Bill Ackman, like again, on his way to maybe Ray status, like one of the most legendary
I would say
investors. Like he's up there
he's probably more popular than Ray, maybe.
because he's
Like
younger. Like, yeah, he's younger.
he's
He like
like
more recently made like really big like deal that made a lot of money. Like, is kind of getting hype.
I think he's also just more like controversial and like
Yeah,
yeah. But no, I agree.
but like, you know, I know a lot of people that would have no idea who he was. But he can
If you were to
still
come to
like
like
get into
if you were
any
to come to a
restaurant he
party,
wants. Like,
yeah, yeah. But if
um,
you were to come to like a party, right? Like most people are gonna be like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
I think like that's the highest level of fame I would want. Like I wouldn't want more than that because I think like imagine being like a Timothy Chalamet. Like I'm sure it's very satisfying to the ego, but like he can't go anywhere. Like
No, I would even say even Bill like Ackman is probably too like
you think too much?
would be inconvenient. Like I'm trying to think who would be like probably Naval, right? Like Naval, like well known, but like if you were to walk around New York, like I don't know, a tier two, tier three city, maybe
Mm,
someone even a little less famous than him, like maybe like I don't know, Hasib's probably too low, but somewhere between like Hasib and Naval, like there's probably a sweet spot there.
the problem is like I would want the perks of fame, like getting into like just getting into any restaurant you want, getting invited to whatever you want, like cool like deals, partnerships. Hasib probably gets a lot of that, but not all of that. But like I don't know,
He's probably
he's on
like
his
he's a
way.
rising,
He's on his
yeah,
way. Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
like think of what he's done in like 5 years, like from
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
App Academy to like podcast with Vitalik and fucking
right.
Naval.
And like
That's how you know you made
in
it.
like a
Like
prime, he's in like a prime area too. I mean,
yeah, like crypto, like investing and venture, right?
yeah. I was reading today about this girl who like dropped out of Harvard, worked at like Apple for a year, then was like going to do something else, and then she like on a whim like emailed this like partner at Andreessen Horowitz and basically like, hustled her way into like an internship, which like was like apparently unheard of, and then after like a year, because like the crypto space is growing and changing so quickly and no one's really
Mm-hmm.
like an expert, like there's like some title inflation, but she's a partner now, which is like off the charts insane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but
She sounds smart as fuck.
yeah. But I think it's one of those things too, like if you're in an environment where things are changing so quickly, like
Mm-hmm.
even if you have slightly more like context or information than like someone else,
It's very leveraged.
it's like yeah, it's just through the charts, like how different it is. But
I'm meeting a bunch of people. I'm going to the office tomorrow for the first time.
yeah,
So I'm meeting a bunch of people. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
you gonna see the boy?
Eric's going to be there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, fine.
He doesn't work at home. He only goes into the office.
I know.
He doesn't like working from home. Is he coming on Saturday?
I don't think so, but maybe some siblings are coming. So
Yeah, Amano's going to come.
fine.
Um,
Marissa's coming. It'll be fun.
It'll be a squad.
Yeah. The pregame was fun. You would have had a good time.
I'm sure.
And
No, it was just bad.
trade off.
Not bad timing. It was just my whole grade was like literally everyone I'm friends with in New York in my grade was at Knicks.
Facts.
Yeah, so it was just my plan was to go for a little bit and then leave, but I was like, nah, there's no
I know.
way.
Once you texted me like I'm going to this, I was like, there's a very high chance I don't see him.
I just feel like every single time you chill with Henry, is Henry going to be there on Saturday?
I think so.
I haven't seen Henry in mad long.
Yeah.
Outside lens didn't really feel like it counted because I would see him for
Yeah,
10
it wasn't
seconds and he had his boys
Yeah.
and your bum ass was rolling with his boys.
It was mad fun.
I'm sure.
And it was this this when we went out was a really good time. It's great to see.
No, elsewhere was cool, man.
Yeah. It's funny how places like neither of us have been, and then it's like in one weekend, it's like, when it rains, it pours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I really just like I'm really excited right now to get my own place in New York because I've just been in Miami for so long. Like I'm
Yeah.
excited to. I'm aiming for like a July 1st move in, but I
Okay.
hear that's a bad season to actually move in. I hear like coming up is pretty good, like June. I
I
don't
think
know.
I feel like COVID kind of shuffled everything because
Mm-hmm.
like people like didn't sign. There wasn't like this big surge, as big of a surge in the summer, but I'm sure there's still a lot of things that'll come on the market.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's, I mean, it's just like the supply is so low. Like
How do
prices
you
are sky high.
how do you think about the trade off between location and space?
I think it just like depends what you want to prioritize. Like for me, honestly, like my apartment by in no stretch of the imagination is like large, but I could probably live in like half the size and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Yeah, because you
for
don't
me,
have a
it's
lot of
not really,
stuff,
yeah, and it's not like
and you
I
have
don't
a
know the
big
things.
closet. Like your
Yeah,
closet's huge.
I know. But the things I do aren't like space dependent. Like would I like a huge loft? Like sure, but like in terms of like trade offs, like yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a solid spot. Um, I don't know. Like for you, you want to have like instruments,
I mean,
but
I just need it. Yeah, like I have a big desk. I don't. Your space is like I would only need a tiny bit more just because of the guitar stuff and then the ice plunge. Like the
the
plunge
plunge.
takes up space. Like
I feel like you could put the plunge. Maybe if you got like a smaller couch, you could probably do
yeah,
multiple things, or put the plunge by where the table is. I don't know.
it's
It'd
just
be nice
hard.
to put on the roof, honestly.
Yeah, it would be cool, but
Yeah.
I don't know what the legality of that would be. It's
Oh,
also quite
that's it.
heavy. I
That's
mean,
fine. It's
it's
industrial
not
wood.
gonna, yeah, it's not gonna fall through the roof. But also, I wouldn't want other people going in it. Like,
I I
there's a
can't imagine
yeah,
the
but the
plunge on
people
like a
could like
locker
spit in it or something. Like I'm just saying, like there is, the possibility. You know what
for
I
sure
wish?
for a lock on it.
Yeah, I could throw a lock on it. I mean, yeah,
Whatever. But there's options. I mean, I honestly think like it would be sick if they had like I don't even know where in the city would be a good spot. Maybe like Chinatown, maybe like
for what?
quick stop in Brooklyn. Like if you had like a small like art studio, like a place to like I don't know, you know, like maybe Long Island City, something like that would be really
Mm-hmm.
nice. Because then you can just like have all your stuff there. You probably get in New York. I don't know what it goes for. I mean, I'm sure
Long
it's
Island
like cheap.
City's kind of popping right now.
Yeah.
One bedrooms are quite expensive there.
No. I'm saying
Like a storage unit.
like an art studio. Yeah, like a storage. Like
Yeah, but then you have to commute. Like
I know. It takes away.
my like ideal is like decent location. Doesn't need to be elite, but like decent location. But like I can just do all of the things I want to do at home. Like record music, work, ice plunge, gym is close by.
New York's
Like
like good try. Like
yeah.
later.
And like they call the West Village the new Murray Hill. Like getting all that in the West Village at a like good rate is next to impossible. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
impossible, but it's like really low probability. Sub 5%.
it's probably. I feel like
Yeah.
West Village to get. I mean, a studio is easily 35. Like
Yeah. And then um even the East Village is like the spots
every
are so small. Like
everything's. I was looking at even like Chinatown. It's not like it's saving that much money. Like
yeah.
it's probably. Um,
So I'm
yeah,
wondering about the trade-off of like living maybe like in a Midtown East or like not Murray Hill, but like
yeah, I hear you.
it's just bro, like or like a Greenpoint or Williamsburg. Williamsburg wouldn't be that bad just because I have a lot of friends there, but like I
I
don't
know,
love it.
I know. Well, I think I was gonna make a bad joke, but I'll save it for later. Um, Facts. It's tough. It's tough, and inflation too. Just added the like pump to the price tag of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dude, I just wish all my friends would move to Miami. It'd be so much better.
facts.
But Alas, here we are.
You got to do an Austin trip. I would love to hear your take on Austin. I
I'm
think
sure I'd love it.
you'd love
I
it.
just
Yeah,
like I'm in a spot like I just don't want to spend any money right now.
I hear you.
Like I don't want to
That's
spend anything. And like I can right now, but I just don't like I just want to put it away and like
I know.
I don't know, I'm very much in a zone like and it's kind of weird cuz mentally I'm having a hard time like compartmentalizing it because there's a part of me that just like doesn't feel because I know there's disruption coming up, meaning like moving, I'm going to go to Miami for probably a month, in a
Sure,
few weeks. And I just feel like the jumping around between places kind of gets in the way of like that sit down and do one thing for a long time.
sure.
There are some ways to get around it. And like, with my job, like with our jobs, those are not really location dependent. So it's fine. But um,
Facts. Facts.
yeah.
Um, all right. Well, I feel like we've gone pretty deep on the living front.
Yeah. We've talked about that a
Um,
lot.
I have a something I want to talk about that came up over the last like I guess few weeks, but specifically this week was,
Mhm.
and I was speaking with someone on my team about how like I felt like I've done probably some of the most senior level work this week as an
Mhm.
engineer, and it required not writing a single line of code,
Mhm.
um, and I don't know, just different than what I expected. But it really, I'll give like a high level because I can't really go into details. But basically,
Mhm.
there was this big this technical decision that has to be made that spans across like 4 or 5 different teams, and
Mhm.
like there's trade-offs between like making it fit for like engineering versus fit for like the user, and there's like these big trade-offs and like all these different stakeholders, and like my job has been like to like, and I use this quote from this talk I heard, is like tame the chaos of
Mhm.
everything and like get everyone on the same page and be like, okay, what are the technical requirements, and like asking the right questions, putting things together, like making sure the right people are talking, and like the technical work is going to be like quite like small, but it's just like getting to what the decision is like such a big lift. So it's, I don't know, it's been really cool because it like is very impactful, but it's not writing code. So just something that's like, I don't know, I've been reflecting on and thinking about, and I feel like counterintuitive for what most people would
Mhm.
think, in terms of engineering.
So is it more like coordinating, like syncing between teams the direction that the code is going to take? Like that was and like an architecture kind of thing, or is it more just
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
and like it affects like engineering, product, like financial teams, analytics
Hmm.
teams. Like it just spans like so many domains, and like there's so many people involved, and yeah, it all comes down to like how we will technically like implement it, even though that
Hmm.
is not a huge change. Um, but yeah, it's cool. And speaking with my friend who's even more senior engineer, and they were like, "Yep, as like you go up, it's like these become the more impactful and like more important things, like knowing the right questions, like you know, making sure the goal is not to write code. The goal is to like help the company do well
Hmm.
and make money and like you know.
Hmm.
So that's
That's
been
exciting.
really interesting.
Do you
Yeah, yeah.
feel like you crossed like a chasm, or like it was a phase shift into like a higher level of your career, or it was kind of just like a taste of something that will become a more regular thing moving forward?
I think it was a taste, but it was also just like a like a like paradigm shift. I don't know. Like if someone's a quarterback, right, and they're used to playing
Hmm.
like normal games, right, but then it's like very different than like a minute left and you're down by 3 and you have to like score a touchdown. It's like that's when you find out who's like a great quarterback versus a good versus bad quarterback.
Hmm.
So I think it was like one of those where it was like, okay, like this is like kind of like the next step in what comes with that, like tough decisions, like a lot of coordinating. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, and the code just it's fun. Like the code just becomes like the easy part, really. Um,
Do you feel like what's your relationship to like the sort of popular idea of like having a thing like as your thing. Like I'd probably say like music is my thing, but I think I was talking to a friend recently and they started like feeling down because like they had watched the movie Soul
Yeah.
and felt like, oh, like I don't. And Soul, the movie addresses this, right? But it's like they were like, oh, I don't know what my spark is, like what my thing is, and I don't. I
Sure.
don't think my take is like I don't. I think that's just like story. Like not
Yeah.
everyone is gonna like find something when they're young that they just get obsessed with. But how do you relate to that idea right now?
I feel like right now I'm just in like, and I think this reflects in like reading and like what I do generally is just like what's interesting and like let me just do that and like
Hmm.
having a bias towards action and just seeing what I do like there's I do like engineering and I think it's like a great like thing to build from. But yeah, just exploring things in tech, things outside of tech, and like creating like this like. So I don't think I've like found my spark, but I definitely I and I think this is there's something I wrote down here where it's like not setting goals in terms of like, oh, I want to have like 25 mil in the bank by like 35. It's like, oh, I want to have like the ability to take a nap in the middle of the day, spend time with kids, and like be able to like golf every weekend, like a more broad, like wide goal. So I think for me, it's like figuring out what are those like broad things. And I think
Hmm.
I've definitely got a sense that I really enjoy like creating. I really enjoy like collaborating with people. And like, I don't know, I guess it leans towards technology. But
Hmm.
what about you? What would you say? I know you music and I know
My dream in life, I want to be like a mix of like Kevin Parker, Tim Ferriss, and Nassim. Like to me, that's like the dream.
Lil Naval on top.
Well, Naval on top too, but like those, like Kevin Parker, in the fact that he's like completely like he's the sole writer of his music and like is like highly productive in music and sort of his music like spans like different like bases. Like I know kids who are really into hip hop that love like I say kids, we're fucking adults now, but
Yeah,
like friends of mine who were like hip hop heads who love Tame Impala, like
sure.
Tim Ferriss because of his like learning ability and like just the way he hacks different areas of life and like the experiences he's had. And
Hmm.
then Nassim because of his like how well read he is and how just elite his like intellect is.
Sure.
And then in terms of like life experience, like I think I really want to live in like an elite New York City loft for at least a few years at some point in my life, like an elite loft though.
Facts.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just like I was thinking about this last night in bed, as I was going to sleep. Like I have like a really like deep fear that there's not enough time to do everything I want to do. And maybe I mean there isn't. I mean, but you can do a lot of shit in life though, but
Fact.
I'm just thinking like I don't know. I'm generally not good at like organizing and planning like if I was to plan a trip this summer to Europe or something, like that would stress me out, like trying to figure out
Facts.
the logistics and stuff like that. But it's something I want to do because I haven't really traveled much in my 20s. But I don't know. There's just mad like shit that I want to do, bro. And there's like,
Fact. I find one thing I find with like having not having enough time to do things, I find often myself, other people like are limited by this like belief that there's like this narrative to how things have to go. Like people are like, oh, like let's take the trip to Europe. Like, oh, I have to go book a trip. I have to know what I'm going to do. But like literally, like tomorrow, if you wanted, like you could buy a flight,
mm,
go, and just like figure it out.
figure
Or
it
like,
out. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Or like that thing I sent you today for about the UFC fighter,
Francis Ngannou.
Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was like doing this job shoveling sand, and he's like, I want to
Mm,
be a boxer, and like floated across the ocean. Like, I don't, like in no one's life is that. I mean, many people's life, but like that is not an average story. And I feel
hmm.
like if you're willing to just like break these narratives, like
Hmm.
you can get places so much quicker.
Yeah.
and do more things.
With travel, I agree. My thing is like I want to be good at a lot of different skills, you
Sure.
know? And there's just to approach like mastery takes in my mind it takes, 6 to 10 years. And even then, it's like an endless
Sure.
journey of learning. And if I was to tell you right now like things I'd want to like gain mastery in, it would just like there's not enough time. Like obviously songwriting and music something I've been working on, but then like I think like doing cinematography for like movies would be elite. Like it'd be so fun.
Sure.
Like learning jujitsu like at a very high level would be amazing.
Sure.
Surfing.
I think it's the Warren Buffett thing. Is like write the 20
Def-
things you really want to do and cross out the bottom 15 and like
yeah, just focus
block
on
it
the
in.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have mine. I think like at least at a high level. I think like mine's like build good relationships, work on interesting things, like continue to learn and grow my knowledge base, and then like the last one has been neglected, but like I don't know, go deeper into like fishing slash outdoors, like
Hmm.
really like enjoy that.
You gotta be careful about those ticks, though, man.
Facts.
Apparently, Lyme disease is like
Yeah, it's a problem.
bordering an epidemic right now.
Yeah. What else were we talking about before? I
You were
lost my
talking about the goals, like broad concepts instead of bullet points. And you
sure.
were before that you were talking about your senior engineer like
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. No, something about the when we were talking about like goals and stuff. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What do you think? Do you mind if I ask like
Yeah, go ahead.
so? What do you think is the biggest? If let's say by May 1, I was like Taimur, I like you need to make a song that is like you put on SoundCloud. What do you think are the biggest like blockers to that happening?
Starting like the it's starting something is the hardest thing.
Yeah,
And what that specifically looks like is like, oh, my keyboard's over there, my guitar's over there, like my fucking audio and my wires are in there. Like it's the physical act of getting all that stuff, plugging it in, sitting down is definitely the biggest bottleneck. Which sounds stupid to say it out loud, but like
right.
there's no shortage of ideas. Like I have 10 years of ideas like that have just been accruing, and like ideas come very quickly when I'm playing a lot. I think the fear is like, and Pressfield talks about this, and Stephen Pressfield talks about this in The War of Art. Like when you get over resistance with a capital R and like sit down, you're forced to like contend with the fact that like the grand ideas you have in your head, like what you produce is going to be shit most of the time, and it's
Sure.
like the disciplined professional creative life is like just showing up anyway and doing it and doing it
Persistent.
and doing it, and then things come out.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just, yeah, it's just the starting, because I mean, and I think that just goes to everything in life. Like when I was building my app, the job search app, when I first started it, and any time that I wanted to go revise something, it was always like, fuck, like I'm gonna sit down, and then you come up with some excuse, you do it tomorrow.
Sure. Sure.
And yeah, um that's like a big thing. That's probably the biggest thing. Another thing is like feeling mentally scattered, because there's a lot of things to focus on right now,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I know it's
finding
like
a
a
place
transient time for everyone. I feel like.
finding a place to live, like just started a new job and having to devote like a lot of cognitive
Yeah. Yeah.
energy every day to like getting caught up with Scala.
Mm-hmm.
um Also, like, my girlfriend says this, and she's 100% right. Like there is something about being in New York where there's like you tell yourself like this week, okay, next week I'm not going to see as many people. Like next week I'm going to
Sure.
stay
But then
home,
there's
and
a
then something
concert.
comes up.
There's yeah.
Exactly. Like tomorrow I'm going to a show with Nick and Steven, and
Mm-hmm.
they told me about it on Monday. Like, hey, we have an extra ticket, and I'm like, fuck it. Like I really like this band, so I'm going to go. But it's like just that keeps on happening. So
Sure. I think it's just like I think like I've had this happen. So I just like since college, like sophomore year, it's been like I've set a goal just to like read a book a week, whether it's like
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, like have to finish a book a week. And
Yeah.
like I don't think it's the most like the most effective way of reading. I will like 100% own up to that. But I think it has been incredibly powerful to keep the habit. Like remember you said
Mm-hmm.
like that guy at the gym was like just go to do yoga, something to keep up the
Yeah.
like habit. Same thing where it's like sometimes I'm reading like crap, but
Mm-hmm.
I think like having like an arbitrary like quota or like limit to hit is so powerful. Okay, because every week, no matter like
Mm-hmm.
someone passed away, like you're sick, whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
always having to do something every week.
Yeah.
Rain, wind, hail, snow. I think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think 100%. It like eventually it just pays huge dividends.
I agree, and I have no rebuttal for that at all.
It's just bad. It is like
I mean, it's not even bad timing though, because like data says
no,
the
I'm just saying
way.
it's mad tough. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's the
it
first
is.
step.
I think it's like I have a fantasy in my head of like I just get a place, put my head down, and like that's the next 10 years of my life, And of course, like that's not how anything ever works out.
Sure.
But I am. I think I'm just getting conquered by resistance, like Stephen Pressfield talks about. Like, and the thing is, like, it's really the easiest part of the creative process of writing music. Like, the music writing part is not like where I'm like I can pick up my guitar right now and play for 3 hours and have zero
Sure.
problem like being disciplined about like, oh, I need to learn this, I need to try this, like let me try to come up with a new chord progression. Like I don't have any problem with that. And then the ideas will spawn like, oh, like I can imagine a synth doing this and panning to the right.
Sure.
Something about like opening up the DAW, the digital audio workspace, like Logic, which is where you like record and visualize all the different things. Something about that frightens me. Like
That
I don't know what it
I
is.
think it's like the fear of like like of seeing yourself like in a
Mm-hmm.
non like whatever like glorified like way like just like
Mm-hmm.
you have to sit down and be like front and center with like the reality of like where things stand and like
Mm-hmm.
yeah
Yeah.
do you know about that like the Bill Gates thing where he goes like 1 week a year he like flies to like middle of
His Think
nowhere
Week,
stays
yeah.
yeah and he just like brings a ton of books like no I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think he has like phone or anything like I feel like that'd be cool for like and I'm sure artists do this like just bring guitar like
Mm-hmm.
laptop everything blocked except for like things you would need and like
Mm-hmm.
no phone and just like whatever weeks worth of groceries and just like produce shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like rent a car, go up to the Adirondack, like whatever. I
Yeah,
think
it would
that'd
be
be
chill.
pretty sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the next like hurdle that I'm facing, right? Because like before this, I was working at my last job and wasn't happy there, and like got my mind ready to sort of get a new job and did what I needed to do and like landed in a pretty good position. Um, yeah, it just feels like I think I don't deal well with when things feel like they're in a bit of a like limbo, like you know not wanting to spend less time in Miami than I do, but also like knowing that jumping there and then jumping here like does incur like a
Distress things.
significant cost
Yeah,
like of momentum. Like a big thing is using the ice plunge. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to really get deep and like start feeling like the deep mental benefits of like incredible energy, incredible focus, like calmness, resilience, like all those things. It does take and like when I'm only coming home for a month and then going to Miami and then staying there for 1 or 2 months, like I think a lot is going to change when I get a place that I'm happy with and then like settle down there.
sure,
Even if it's just for a year, like not having to bounce around for a year is good. And I'm still going to go to Miami a ton, but
sure. And there's just, I mean, there's also just this comfort of like having a home base where like even if you are traveling, like the fact that you have this home base and like you walk in,
mm-hmm,
it's like okay, this is home. Like it I feel like it doesn't make the traveling disruptance as big.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the mind feels it calm. Like I feel like the mind just is calm because it knows this environment. Like
mm-hmm. So that's like the thing, but I also do believe it'll be one of the situations like you said about tech, like when it rains, it pours. Like but we'll see. I have been recording some music, to be fair, though, but
Yeah.
it's been more like snippets and sort of like loose ideas. Um, and part of the work is like tying them together and figuring out like what goes with what and stuff. But yeah, to sort of segue from there, because it's interesting. One of the benefits that getting this new sort of level up in my career is affording me is like the ability to go to like really good doctors.
Mhm.
And on Andrew Huberman's podcast, his most recent episode was with this doctor called Kyle Gillette, and it's like he's a physician, and it's a master class on like hormones and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And he has like a telemedicine practice, and
Mhm.
just
You did it.
launched it. I have an appointment with him next week, but I'm like so stoked that like I had this.
Is it covered by insurance or just
No,
like
it's
the
not, but
benefits are
it's yeah. But I can use my like wellness stipend towards it, so kind
covered? Okay.
of. But
Maybe even as FSA, but yeah.
yeah, facts. And I just after I was thinking about this last night, like when I listened to in college, you remember Charles Poliquin? Like I was really into
Yeah.
his shit.
Mhm.
He said something that I think I didn't take in the best way, but he basically said like there's a saying in medicine like P equals MD. Like, have you heard that before? Like
Where
pass equals doctor. Like, you know, if someone gets a C's in all their classes and passes, it's the same thing as like an A plus doctor, right? So I kind of had
sure.
this when I wasn't working at the best job and like my insurance didn't cover like the most elite doctors, I kind of had this bias against like going to the doctor too much. Because I was like, what are the I just wouldn't I had a hard time believing that the stuff that they were gonna tell me would be the best stuff available.
Sure.
And that's I don't know if that's true or not, but now that like I can like prioritize spending on like a really good doctor, I'm really stoked because this is
Yeah.
someone like Huberman said he's like one of the world's like most
Renowned.
knowledgeable
Yeah.
people on fucking hormones and stuff like that. So I'm like
Yeah.
hoping to see if like get like all the right blood tests and like have because if you go to like different doctors, you even ask them like what
Yeah.
blood
They
tests
give
should I
you
get, they're going to tell
multiple.
you
Yeah.
all different shit. So
Right.
I want to go to a doctor who's like, no, these are the blood tests and like just
I'm
trust them.
surprised it. Yeah. No, it's a fact. I mean, like in college, like I don't know, you meet people and there's like a SAC and there's someone who is like whatever. I'm sure like
Isaac. That means
C.
Isaac. Sack means Isaac.
Yeah. there's
Not that
there's
that
like
person's a ball sack.
there's like such a range and like I don't know, it's just like a power curve. So yeah, I mean having access to like the best is like and I'm sure you'll feel even stronger about it after the appointment. Or at least I hope so. But
Dude, that's one of like the top reasons. Like, to be honest, I'm not like getting rich is not the top priority when it comes to like wanting to be successful for me. It's really just the network of people who are like just elite in all their different ways, you know, like
for me, like
and the freedom, obviously the freedom in life that it gives you.
that's my
Freedom's
biggest,
like
and that's
number
what
one.
that was like in. Remember, Carol has those like questions, and there's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, mine was just like freedom to literally like have control over my time and day, and yeah, I think that that's still holds true.
Facts. That is like number one. Like Nassim has this quote, like I'm gonna, you know, his Bed of Procrustes, like the Book of Aphorisms.
Mm-hmm.
He has one that, to paraphrase, it's something like you're not a truly civilized human being unless you can spend all day accomplishing absolutely nothing and feel zero guilt about it.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a fact.
Yeah.
I really like that quote.
Yeah. I think that fits into what we talked about before of like these goals, like 25 mil in the bank, who cares? But if you can like at any point just like piss away a day and just like relax and have like no guilt, like can't beat that. Fine.
Yeah, I do feel like we're entering into a very exciting phase of life right now.
For
like
sure.
Late 20s,
but also a very interesting macro environment. Like it just like a lot of
shit's
like,
happening.
The ground is moving. Yeah, it's an interesting
the tectonic plates of global politics and macroeconomics are kind of sort of having this sort of non choreographed dance right now, and
Yeah.
no one knows where it's going to end up. Maybe
I
some people do,
wonder.
but I don't.
I wonder if like things like I mean I assume like during Vietnam War, other things like it felt like this intense and like yeah, who knows like how defining at this moment will be. Many people think it will be, but um, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
great. But I also think everything's relative, right? Like I think if you have valuable skill, you're a valuable person. Like similar to what we were talking about before, like things will always settle out as they will, and like
Hmm.
yeah.
Facts. Do you think at any time soon you're going to start making videos again? Or do you have any ideas? Like,
I think video is more of like I think I would like to make more. I mean, it's more it would just be for fun. Like I don't
mhm.
think it's what I would like. I think my time would be I have higher ROI investing in other things that I enjoy
Hmm.
like equally, but I think it would be something I'd like to continue doing like to some
Facts.
extent.
Do you
Yeah,
feel like you have learned like like you've gained a fundamental literacy though with like content creation in that medium?
I don't know. I mean, I would say I have like a certain base level that I feel like pretty confident that like
Hmm.
I could develop from like after like Flatiron. Like I feel like okay, like I have a good base to like learn, the whole a decent base to learn the spectrum of whatever it is that
Hmm.
is tech. And I feel like, yeah, to some extent, like that with content, but still a noob.
Maybe we brainstorm some stuff that maybe we can come up with some content for the pod, some fun
Sure,
videos or something.
sure. But
What else? You want to talk Balaji?
yeah, we can. We may have to keep things on a little shorter side today,
Mhm.
but
We're almost at an hour. We're 10 minutes away from an hour.
yeah. I mean,
So
do you want to? We could do like fire away some questions, and then we can wrap up
okay,
on the shorter end.
let's what's like a should we ask some Tim questions like ones we haven't asked already? Like we should let's do the
I,
billboard question.
I have one that,
All
the
right.
guy at the artist in the park asked me today. He asked me two. One was, what have you had to unlearn?
Mm,
And the other was, what do you worry the most about?
okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I answered them, and my answer in unlearning was about like setting boundaries. I feel like I grew up and was extremely bad at setting boundaries, and like I don't know. I think I got that from my mom, and it came from like an extremely like positive place. But I think it was something
Mm,
I really had to learn to like set good boundaries, and obviously still work in progress. And then things that I worry about, it's like what I said was like having the balls to make a risky decision that I think I should make,
mm-hmm.
um, and I think I'm okay at that. But I'm worried that sometimes like I won't make a big enough move. So those are
Mm-hmm.
my two.
I think something that I'm unlearning. It's a progressive thing, but something that I keep reminding myself is like one of the insights I had in college that I still believe is true is like never trust the conclusions my thinking process comes to if I'm not feeling good, or in the bare minimum, suspend all judgment or evaluation of judgments I make or conclusions I make psychologically until I'm in a place where I feel like my mental state is clear and I feel good.
Sure.
So I think the thing that I'm unlearning is like emotions.
Or
I
a
think
lens.
emotion, like I think I say it this way, like I don't know if it's true for other people, though I think it is, but for me, I've observed like oftentimes if I'm not aware of my like internal state, like I think that the world I'm seeing is causing the way I feel, but I think it's actually the opposite. Like
Right.
the way I feel is causing me to see the world a certain way.
Yep.
And that's very ingrained in my brain, but it is like still a practice that like if I feel shitty or if I don't feel good, or like
Sure. Sure.
and
I
if
think
I'm
it's like
like
a this is water. Like
mhm.
it's tough to realize that's the
Yeah.
yeah.
And the second question was a worry about.
Yeah, what do you worry most about, or spend the most time worrying about?
My biggest worry is that I will just never have enough energy to sort of match my like to like basically actualize my potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like my default, I tend towards like not having enough energy in a day, which is why I do all this crazy shit like fucking dip
Ice
in
Plunge, yeah.
33-degree water twice a day, every single day, and go on meditation retreats. And I don't really drink that much, and
Right.
I don't
I feel
know.
like one thing I want to like hack in line with that is like I feel like getting like an elite nutritionist would probably be so fire. Like
Hmm.
I feel like that'd be a good a
Investment.
high ROI on yeah,
Hmm.
but interesting on the energy front.
Yeah, that's like the biggest fear I have. I don't really have a lot of fear that when I look at someone like Elon, and like you and I love Elon, obviously I see genius, and but what I see more than genius is like cognitive energy, and that's what I like envy in him way more than like the intellect.
Sure.
Um, because I
I
like
mean, I think
my
it's just both. Like both are just at like
yeah, I mean he's
100%.
maxed out. Like
Yeah,
he's maxed. Like video game characters, you can choose
yeah,
different
yeah.
stats. Like his like energy plus intellect
He got
must
that
be
action
like
replay.
exactly like it's a cheat code.
Yeah,
But I'm like happy with my brain, and I'm happy with my ideas and like my thinking, and I don't ever find myself wishing that I was like maybe it's stupid. Maybe that reveals some stupidity in me, but I don't find myself like wishing for like a better brain. I find myself just like, dude, I just don't have the energy to do this right now. And
sure,
I'm
sure.
I'm hoping that seeing this doctor is gonna like improve shit.
Fine.
Um, but to your point, your first thing, unlearning, like learning how to set good boundaries. Like I've definitely noticed that in you. But when do you? What sort of was it Neil's book that really made that like apparent to you, or had you been thinking about that before? Because I remember you
It
started
was it was
talking about it a lot when you read his The Truth, right? That book.
yeah, yeah. But I think it really came to like it hit me in college with that situation sophomore
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that was like it solidified like okay, like I don't know. I think it really just solidified the like the oxygen mask like principle. Like you have to help yourself before you help others. And I think like
Mm,
yeah, and like that quote that Neil has, it's like boundaries is where I can love myself and love you at the same time. And I
mm-hmm.
think that just like I don't know clicks in deeper levels. So
And then to your second point, kind of similar to the question you asked me earlier, just to make sure I got it, you said you're worried that maybe you won't have as big of an impact as you want.
no, it's more of just like having like if I have conviction that like something is the right thing to do, like even if it's like really risky, like just making the decision. So
What do you think you can do to be more like maybe basically more like courageous or like more risk, like willing to take risks? What do
I
you
think it's
think
a
needs to switch?
I think it's a muscle. I think just like doing it on a smaller scale, and I think eventually it snowballs and bigger decisions get easier.
Hmm.
I don't think I'm like horrible at it. I just think
I
it's
don't think
like
you are either. I think
I
you're
just think it's
pretty good at it.
I think it's just like I said before, like really if there's like a narrative that's just like completely not in line, like just being
Mm,
like I don't know, okay going with that. So
facts.
yeah. But should we wrap this up?
Let me ask you the Tim
Yeah.
question, the billboard question. If you could have a billboard anywhere and it be seen by a billion people, what would you want it to say?
I have three quotes that I like always repeat to myself, but I'll pick my favorite one, I guess. Um, I think my favorite has always been, as corny as it is, uh, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Mm,
I think I find that like I can process like any event through that lens, and it helps me like so much. And I think it like there's like many levels to that. Like, and I think it deepened during the retreat. So yeah, I think that would be mine.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do learn that on the retreat, like that a lot of us it seems like the basic human instinct is to judge good and bad based on our like sort of default instinctual reaction to something, and really that's
Mhm.
like the sensations and emotions it produces in our bodies. But like that's a big unlearning too, right?
Yeah.
Like
No, it's huge. It's huge.
this
But I
thing
think
that
it's sorry.
no, like this thing, any situation that just because something makes you feel bad doesn't mean like that it's a bad thing. Sometimes
Sure.
like our conditioned responses are just coming from whatever place that's like not necessarily a bad thing.
Sure. I
It's a
think
good
it
one.
just. I think I'll do a quick like sec on it. Just like the some of the lessons is just like one like reality is just happening, and you're just like a product of reality. Like there are waves in the ocean, you're
Mm-hmm.
just bobbing along with them. Another is like a bad thing can happen, but then that could lead to a good thing. Like, and we see that all the time. Like we get like rejected from this job offer, but then get like
Mm-hmm.
a job offer that's significantly better. But then also like that job offer is great, but then and you think this is good, but then it ends up being bad because like it restricts you from doing something. Who knows? Like that's another aspect. And then like yeah, I don't know. Those are like some of the main ones. What was the other point I was going to make? Um, I don't remember. I'll if I think of it, I will come back to it. Lost my train of thought.
Facts.
What would yours be? Oh, I knew what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'll give you a sec to think too. But it was just that like any event that happens in reality, right? Like something could be like terrible, right? Like let's say like the war in Ukraine, right? Like almost most of the world would say that's horrible, but like to Putin or other people, like this is great, like
Mm-hmm.
to some extent. So I think like any event in reality also has like multiple like good, bad,
Mm-hmm.
qualities depending where you stand. So yeah,
Facts.
what would your billboard be?
Mine is not a quote, and the most important thing I've learned for myself in my life is that what I want to optimize for above all else is clarity and stillness of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So some way that like the most important thing is clarity and stillness of mind. That would probably be
Mm-hmm.
the number one thing for me.
Fine.
The most powerful and like happy I ever felt was not happy, but like
Peaceful.
purposeful and peaceful was after the first retreat.
Yeah.
And I have the inclination to believe, like, I believe that with consistent cold, like it brings me to that place. Like that's
Fine.
what I'm seeking, like more than any high or like experience, just that like
Steadiness and like yeah.
this like complete silence internally and like boundless energy. Like I I think you remember when I probably remember when I came back from the retreat, I was like, this is the first time in that I can remember being able to think extremely like long thoughts
And trace
slowly
back. Yeah.
and trace back like the whole and not expend energy on it.
Right.
Like I've had this experience where like I can be incredibly cognitively like strong and like focus for long periods of time without like having to exert effort, and that was like the best feeling.
Fine.
So that's like what I try to optimize for now.
Fine.
Probably could
And I
do a
think that
better
goes in
job,
line with
but
what you said before, like making decisions or taking perspective while you're in like a bad state is just like it's almost a waste of time.
yeah.
But if you're like still in calm, like you can I don't know
Mhm.
think and process things very well. So,
Interesting question would be like, what is there a state that is even better than that I haven't experienced yet? Because I know there are worse states I haven't experienced yet.
for sure.
Like, but a better state, I don't. I mean, I'm sure like enlightenment, I guess, but I don't.
Like probably
I
like
don't.
a bunch of heroin or
Yeah.
something. Probably.
Damn. All right, we're at an hour, so we call it.
Cool. All right, fam. Much love. Good
Peace.
episode.
Love to the
Number 8 in the
Blub
books.
gang. We love our listeners. Talk to you next week.
Peace.
All one listeners.
All
Oh,
Garrett.
I did the wrong thing.